How is everyone doing today? Back and nice to be back again. So, sorry I haven't been streaming these last couple of days. I actually had my wisdom teeth removed, so I wasn't able to stream. But as always, news keeps going on, life keeps going on. So I thought I'd do a quick 30-minute stream tonight and talk about two interesting things I feel like that's been on my timeline a lot. The first one is I want to talk about this video Shannon Sharp did about the Lamar Jackson double standard and whether or not he should get the MVP. And then I kind of want to talk about a big problem that if you're in the NBA community, a lot of people have been talking about, and that is the NBA three-pointer problem. Or is it really a problem? You guys are just, you need to get off your rocker. So now, with that out of the way, let's start with the first video where we're going to discuss Lamar Jackson. Should he be the MVP in a double standard?
Conversation on First Take. Is Lamar Jackson's career a failure if he doesn't win a Super Bowl? I said no. I said it's a disappointment because no other two-time league MVP has failed to win a Super Bowl. And at the end of the day, that's the only thing that's left off this resume. Now, we can't change it because we like that.
I mean, that sounds like a failure to me. If everyone takes a test and I'm the only one that fails it, that makes me a failure. Am I wrong? Do I sound stupid here? Am I speaking Spanish? If Lamar Jackson is let's just say he wins the MVP this year, which I might talk about later on. Let's say Lamar Jackson wins the MVP. He doesn't. He's still a two-time MVP. No one else with a two-time MVP has not won a Super Bowl. And if Lamar Jackson's the only one that does that, then I guess it makes him a failure and his career failure. I think if you're talking about like compared to the normal standard, hundreds of millions of football players would love to have two MVPs in Lamar's career. But if we're talking as a two-time MVP, he doesn't win a Super Bowl, and every two-time MVP does win the Super Bowl, then yeah, that makes you a failure. I don't know what's bad about that. Like, am I missing something?
Because we hold that against guys that don't win, especially they say, well, you don't judge Josh Allen. Josh Allen ain't got no MVPs. Well, you don't judge Joe Burrow ain't got no MVPs. Justin Herbert ain't got no MVPs. So we have to judge Lamar because there's only three guys that got MVPs, regular season MVPs, that's still playing. Aaron Rodgers got 4 MVPs. He has a Super Bowl. Patrick Mahomes got 3 Super Bowls, got 2 MVPs. He got 3 Super Bowls. So the only other guy that's playing in the league right now that has a league MVP
is Lamar.
Jackson. Lamar Jackson.
See, I don't know how I feel about that because MVP, let's be honest, in any sport's really a popularity contest. The media has to like you to get MVPs. And here's my thing about Lamar Jackson. This is why I kind of titled the video, Get Off Lamar Jackson's Nuts. Let's just exclude the MVPs. Let's just take that out. Because like I said, that's a popularity contest. If you're disabled, if you're not like a likable person, then you're probably not going to win an MVP. That's just fact. Here's my thing. Let's just look at elite quarterbacks. So obviously, if you ask most people, elite quarterbacks in the foremost are Mahomes. He's in his little own corner. And then you have like the 3 under him: Burrow, Allen, and Action Jackson Lamar. Here's my thing when I always talk about Lamar as an elite quarterback. And I'm talking about in the group of 3 with Allen and Joe Burrow. Allen's, and I'm just talking about playoffs because, we can all agree Lamar Jackson out of the 3 has been the most amazing in the regular season. But let's just talk about playoffs. Of those 3, and this is why I always say some of the criticism Lamar gets is well deserved. And first off, I don't care if he runs or does whatever he does. But it's just, when I'm talking about impact of the game, which is a quarterback stat, how quarterback impacts the game. When Lamar loses, he loses badly. And here's what I mean. 2021. No, 2020. Mahomes' first Super Bowl. Allen wins the MVP. His team is like 14-2, I believe. Number 1 seed in the AFC. They get the first round. They get the first round bye, right? You know, they're winning, they're dominating. He goes and puts up, I think, less than 150 yards passing and 17 points. Like, that's just a bad game. And this is when he's like, I think, averaging like 23, 24 a game. Would you say not much of a difference? But if you just look at his completion, like when Lamar loses in such a bad way. Last year's a perfect example. You know, he wins the MVP, not the Super Bowl. Imagine if he did. He wins the MVP, number 1 seed in his conference, right? He goes to the conference finals, right? They were predicted to blow out the Chiefs. People forget that. The Chiefs were expected to lose in a blowout. They were on the Ravens' ground. They were the number 1 seed. They were literally averaging, I think, 30 points a game. Had, I think, the biggest, and don't quote me on this fact right here, I think they had the biggest team differential. And then they go and only score 10 points. Like, I can understand losing to Mahomes. Like I understand losing to Jordan or LeBron when he was running the East back in the day. But here's my problem. There's a difference between losing to Mahomes and only putting 10 points when your team is supposed to be putting 30. It is against the same Mahomes, which Josh Allen put 24 in the game before. This is what I always say about Lamar. Lamar's amazing in the preseason and in the regular season. When the playoffs, when he loses so badly compared to a Josh Allen or a Joe Burrow. The people say we only give Joe Burrow credit for making the Super Bowl, but we also, you know, people forget that he literally made the conference final next year. And even when he loses to Mahomes, it's a close game. Like, I don't know if you remember what happened in 2023 when him and Mahomes went at it in the playoffs, and they literally lost on the last second interception in like the last 3 or 2 minutes of the game. Okay? And this was a better Chiefs team. Last year's Chiefs team was, some people expected to lose in the first round sometimes. But his team only puts up 10 points against that team. Josh Allen, he's only lost to 2 people, Joe Burrow and Mahomes. And when he plays against Mahomes, at least it's a close game. Last year was a close game. I think it was 27-24. You can argue it was over by the third quarter. Okay. 2 years before that, he has this infamous game, the squid game, I'm going to call it. Well, literally, they're just throwing dimes at each other. Mahomes really has to end the game by doing a field goal with 13 seconds to go. I believe it was like 48-45. I think that's the score. Of course, you have that blowout loss Josh Allen had to Joe Burrow back in 2023. My thing is, like, Joe Burrow and Josh Allen, when they lose, it's at least close to Mahomes or close to where they lost to, or they lose the games they're supposed to lose to. When his first playoffs, you know, he loses, Lamar Jackson loses to the Texans, who they were supposed to really win and blow out, according to some of the stats. He loses that match. He has the number 1 offense, and I believe at least the top 5 defense last year. Lamar Jackson does. He goes against Mahomes, and this is on the Ravens' home ground, where they're literally blowing out teams and can only put up 10 points. people were ready to call Lamar Jackson the best quarterback going into that game. And most people still have him as the second best quarterback. But my thing is, if you are an elite quarterback, you can lose and you can be better. I don't care how you win. I don't care how you lose. Just don't lose the matches you're supposed to lose and win. And pretty much all I'm saying is, with Lamar Jackson, if you're going to lose, don't lose so badly, and don't lose to the people that you're supposed to beat. There's a difference between losing to Mahomes versus the Detroit Lions back in the day. Not they're good, of course. There's a difference between losing to Mahomes or Burrow or Allen versus Mac Jones and the Patriots. You know what I mean? There's just a difference.
Jackson, Aaron Rodgers, and
Patrick Mahomes. Some people will be upset. Some people will argue the fact that Lamar Jackson is treated unfairly based on the standard in which we hold him to because of the MVPs. No. But that is the standard that we hold players to. Once they achieve,
And this is the thing I hate. People say we hold Lamar to an unfair standard because of MVPs. And then I say, well, we just hold him to standard over Allen and a Burrow. If you look how he plays in the big games or the games he's supposed to win in the playoffs, you can argue he's performing less than them. The thing is, it's something I hate is, out of the three, Allen, Burrow, and Jackson, Lamar's in the best position. He's always had a solid defense. He's in the Baltimore Ravens, which you can argue in the last 10 years is a top 5 organization. Literally, when he got drafted, they were, I think, won Super Bowl about 3 to 4 years ago, and they were a playoff team, I believe. Compare that to Josh Allen, who was like the 3rd or 4th quarterback, but he was still a top 10 pick. So obviously, the Bills weren't doing the best of times. Then you had Joe Burrow, who I think the Bengals were 0-16 or 1-16 that year. So obviously, he was going to a bad show. And you can argue the Bengals are like a bottom 5 organization in the NFL. The only relevancy they've had is in the conference finals in the early 90s. So my thing is, I think people don't hold Lamar enough sometimes, I feel like. I feel they're like saying, or they call other people racist, or they say they don't like black people. But my thing is, I think we should hold Lamar to the standard he's supposed to be held to. Even if you take with MVP, just hold him to the standard of Allen or Burrow. If Allen played half as bad as Lamar did in these playoff games, he would get incinerated for it. Okay, so that's just really how I feel about this whole double standard. Or we don't like Lamar, and I don't even think it's because of the MVPs. I just think he just doesn't play well in the playoffs compared to other elite quarterbacks.
Something of that.
Yeah. Thank you.
But people
I'm glad you say. I'm glad you're saying it, what needs to be said.
But people don't see it that way, especially when it's a player you like, especially when you're a fan of said player. They're able to separate and compartmentalize it, and separate. Hell, okay, he had 2 MVPs, but still look at the season he's having. If he doesn't happen to win a Super Bowl, it's still okay to them.
Lamar Jackson has thrown for 12 more touchdowns than what he had.
I guess I'm gonna give you guys also my response. I wouldn't give it to him. 1, Josh Allen won more games, and 2, he's playing with a whole lot less talent compared to a Lamar Jackson. Let's not forget, Lamar Jackson has a Derrick Henry on his team, and still a good defense. Josh Allen lost his 2 receivers in Gabe Davis and Stephon Diggs. I think has a rookie receiver right now, and pretty much has to put this team on his shoulders. and is carrying his team by his back. I have to give to Josh Allen just because of that. Like, we say it's in basketball, the MVP is the value you bring to your team. I would definitely say the value Allen brings to his team is so much more than the value Lamar brings to his. And that just might be, globbing up some Allen, but that's just what I believe. And tough turkeys. That was weird.
Had last year with 2 games to play. He's already at basically 400 yards, 400 more passing yards than what he's thrown for last year. He was 25-5 last year. He won the MVP because they were 14-2. QBR, he was first in QBR last year. He's second in QBR this year. And I think what's going to hurt him, Ocho, is that he got a guy that's got 1,500 plus yards rushing in his backfield. They're going to look at this and say, hold on, Josh Allen lost Stephon Diggs. Josh Allen lost Gabe Davis. Josh Allen lost.
Everyone who hates ads will be using this Chrome extension by 2025. I feel like I just found a Google cheat code. It's a Chrome extension called Pi that
lost Micah Hyde, Poirier, Tre'Davious White, Von Miller was in and out of the lineup. So they're looking at all the pieces that he didn't have.
And he won more games. Sharp, don't forget that. Josh Allen won more games with less help.
And it says he got his team with the potential. Now, it's all going to be all for naught. If the Chiefs beat the Ravens, if the Chiefs beat the Steelers on Christmas, it doesn't matter because they'll be 15-1 with 1 game to play, and the Bills already have 3 losses. So it doesn't matter what would happen after that. So they would be, at worst case scenario, they finish 15-2, potentially 16, not stepping on the field against the Denver Broncos.
Okay, so that's all we want to talk about with the double standard of Lamar Jackson, how it really doesn't exist, and I feel like people overly protect Lamar a little bit. So next thing I want to talk about is